Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, Meredith Calloway.
Welcome, everybody, to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. On today's episode, I am so excited to be welcoming a lovely, lovely lady who has just finished realizing, accomplishing, I think, a pretty cool goal and fascinating goal. And it is something that a lot of people in the travel industry aspire to do, think about doing, strategize on doing, and never really get to it. And that is having the concept of a group, an affinity type group, and taking them on a trip together and getting that community to really bond and play pickleball together, which is what Debbie Ellis of Good Life Travel has done and is going to continue to do. So welcome to the show, Debbie. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's go ahead and jump right in. We talk about group travel as a fantastic way to work smarter instead of harder as a travel advisor, because there's just a lot more financial upside when you have a group traveling together. And it's also a whole lot of fun. It's definitely not, it's a lot of work. It's not for the faint of heart. And I think that's one of the things that really holds a lot of people back. But let's back up to when you started with the idea of this. When did you conceive the idea to do this pickleball group?
So I went on the Gifted Symposium about group travel, and that was
The group
wonderful.
travel symposium.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was wonderful. And I learned a lot, and it really helped me understand the different pieces that go into it and built my confidence.
For those listening that don't know what that is, we in 2024 and 2023 and 2022, we had a symposium, which is where we rent or charter a river cruise for 4 nights, 5 nights, and we take a bunch of advisors on that cruise with us, and we use the cruise ship as a form of workshopping, a place for us to have a workshop or a seminar at sea, basically. And the year that you're talking about, the theme was group travel, and we focused all on how to not just do groups, but to like find the group, to plan the group, to execute, to work with the right partners. We went into all the nitty-gritty details. So that is what Debbie Ellis is talking about. Sorry. So
That's
you were on the group travel symposium, River Cruise, and you got an idea.
I had started a group of to play pickleball in my town through the rec department. And that group has grown to almost 1,000 people in a Facebook.
Wow.
And I'm all about.
Are you great at pickleball yourself?
No, not really. I mean, I don't think so. I've taught a lot of people, and they're certainly much better than I am now. But
I love that.
it's all in fun.
Yeah.
I used to play tennis, and I stopped when it got too competitive.
Yeah.
And some crazy housewives out there who think it's their part-time
Oh,
job.
don't I know it?
And so I retired from that, and then I heard of pickleball, and I went to see my college roommate. I'm like, you must teach me how to do this. And anyways, then I started my group, my community in my town. And from there, I thought, well, this would be really great to actually go somewhere warm. Being in New England, we like to go warm places in the winter.
You're in New Hampshire?
Yes. Yeah. Just southern New Hampshire. So I say north of Boston, being from Boston. So anyway, so yeah, I decided, this is something I'm going to do. And I thought about it, and I did some research, and one of the travel advisors from GTN, Mary Funkhauser, put me in touch with a pickleball pro who, by coincidence, was in Las Vegas during Virtuoso Week when I was there last year. He wasn't there
That's
for
amazing. I
Virtuoso
just
Week.
got chills. Like it
Yeah,
was like all falling into place for you.
right. So I did get to meet him face to face, which was good. And then, we continued the conversation. I kept thinking about it, kind of putting it off, thinking about it, putting it off, calling, getting some details. And it was a lot of times in Boston, I meet up with other gifted advisors at events and whatnot. And it was Stacy Julian who said to me, who runs Grab Your Group and Go. She's like,
Yes.
well, why, just do it. And I'm like, well, what if people don't have fun? Like all those, like, when you're 12 years old and you have all these insecurities, those things come up once in a while.
Oh, yes.
And saying it out loud sounded kind of silly, but she's just like, people are adults, they're responsible for themselves, and just put it together, it's going to be great. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did. And it took a while to fill, which is a little nerve-wracking, but I had an out clause, so it was good.
How many did you end up having?
Altogether, not everybody participated in pickleball. It was 19. Um,
Okay.
but it was a good number.
And
My
where
first
did you
one.
go?
We went to Mexico, Club Med,
Okay.
all inclusive.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing partner. That is
right.
amazing. Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't know too much about Club Med, but I had gone on a Virtuoso study trip to Turks and Caicos last June. So I went a night early and stayed at that resort to kind of get the vibe and the
Mhm.
feel.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
I did a tour with a lady who used to work at that resort. And so, everything was making sense and coming together. And this is great. And people one by one just signed up. I had friends from around the country, friends locally. And then, over the summer, I did some Facebook advertising,
Okay.
really on a low scale. I used to
Yeah.
do it with my former business, and I've never done it with travel. So, I got to play with that again. That's kind of fun. I do have a marketing
Yeah.
background, so it
Did
was.
did the Facebook ads work? Did it
Yes, I
convert
got a
anybody?
lot of response. So
Wow.
I'll have a nice database of people
Oh,
to
that's
tap into.
amazing.
Yeah. And again, very simple, very low cost on a daily basis. And one by one, and anybody, I said, let's meet, so there were people I didn't know I met with over Zoom or had phone calls with. I did have a call when I was in Turks and Caicos, we work on the go. And,
Yeah.
again, one by one, everybody, came together, signed up. I didn't know, about 25% of them. Colorado, actually two from Colorado, they didn't know each other until the group either. Two from Idaho, our pro is from Idaho. So, like people
Yeah.
ranging in age from 40 to 75. It was really great.
So I want to anchor in on two really cool lessons here. The first is when we teach at Gifted Travel Network, this is a conversation we have often. In fact, that's why we did a symposium on that topic is group travel. Our philosophy is find a Pied Piper or an affinity with a Pied Piper, right? And so you started with that philosophy. That is amazing. And you were your own Pied Piper,
I,
basically. And
I was.
sometimes that works. And if you already had that group to start from, which is amazing. But if you don't have that group to start from, that's the place to start if you want to do a pickleball, start researching pickleball groups in your area, and you might actually come up with a Pied Piper. So I love that you began with that strategy, and you didn't try and just book space somewhere and not have any kind of affinity, not anything to start with. So fantastic on that part. Now the other lesson here, which you beautifully demonstrate, is the entrepreneurial philosophy of that I learned many, many years ago, which is ready, fire, aim.
That's always
Instead of
been
ready,
mine.
aim, fire,
Yeah.
And most people get into that perfection paralysis, and you didn't. And I love that. And that's so you beautifully, beautifully um, demonstrated what happens when you just plow right through that perfection paralysis. And it sometimes it takes talking to people who are going to stretch you even further than you think you can stretch yourself. Like you said, Stacy Julian's just like, people are adults. Don't worry about like how they, they can manage themselves. They know how to make fun for themselves and have a good time. It is not your job to make sure that they have a good time. Now you do want them to have a good time, and you're going to do everything you can to ensure that they have a good time, but it is actually up to them to have the good time. And unfortunately, it's out of your control.
I mean, you have to put things in place. You have to know how
Yeah.
much, is too much, how little is too little.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So let's get into like how long was it from the point of launching it to having that last person sign up?
Well, I went against the advice of over a year, and it was probably 8 months.
Okay. Okay.
Late
And
spring.
but that's okay. Like you did it, right? I mean, even if you had put it out there and it didn't go, I would still call that a success because you're always going to learn something. And like I said, you take imperfect action, right? You ready, fire, aim. And then, so what I love about that is, you're going to do this again, you're going to rinse and repeat,
Yeah.
and you'll have learned something from your first time around, and you will be able to, tweak and perfect that part of the process.
Yes.
Okay, so it was about 8 months. Another strategy that we like to teach when it comes to selling a group or doing a group is to have some kind of like an early bird incentive. Did you do that with the pricing?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I tried. I like tried to put it in there a little late.
Yeah.
But what my strategy was to keep it affordable. Um,
Yeah.
a short trip so that like if you're a mom or if you
Yeah.
have, a career, you could go, 4 nights and come back, it
Yeah.
involved a weekend. So you didn't miss that
Yeah.
much work or
Easy
family.
lift, right? Like everybody has direct flights to Cancun.
Yes, exactly.
Over a 4-day weekend. It was a 4-day weekend.
No, it wasn't a 4-day weekend, but it started on a Saturday and went into
Okay.
the
All
next.
right. But still, it was a shorter window, not a full week. And so make it, give them fewer reasons to object,
Yes, oh, I
basically.
tried to come up with everything, and I mean, I expected some things, and I got those, but I tried to check as many boxes and
Yeah.
foresee any no's in advance.
Right.
It all
Right.
worked out.
What parts of that process will you do differently next time?
Um, it is a little further out. There is a
Good.
financial incentive. Of
Good.
course, it's at a tough time of year, but it is what it is.
Okay.
People who want to go, just make
When
it.
is it, the next trip?
Oh, okay, let me back up. The next trip is beginning of November, 2024.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay. Got it.
financial incentive is right now when a lot
Okay.
of
So
people
there is
need.
an early bird incentive.
Yes,
Fantastic. So what I found when I did this myself, because I actually did a group myself many, many years ago, was that um basically I bookended it. So what I would have is a early bird discount, which is the end of the bookend, but also a beginning of the bookend, which was some kind of other incentive for the first X number of people.
I did that for the people who were on the trip.
Okay. Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
perfect. You gave them an incentive to sign up now for next
Mhm,
year.
mhm.
You're so smart. Look at you. I love it. That's very good. So I predict that that 8 months of filling is going to shorten because of the early bird incentive.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm
And
still working
the
on it.
reason why it works is because it forces people to make a decision. If you
Yes,
don't have that, they can just sit on it and say, yeah, I think I want to go, but I'm not ready to commit. But if
absolutely.
they know that discount's disappearing tomorrow, they're going to be like, all right, I'll do it.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So I do believe that's going to help shorten the window. Okay, so what else would you do different?
The one thing, there's a couple things I didn't do that I didn't make t-shirts. I mean, silly little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did a lot of gifts and giveaways, and we, did prizes the last night for
Fun.
different things, from best served to best dressed,
Oh, I love that. I
just
love
making
that.
it fun. And of course everybody won something, and I had a whole bunch of gifts and they could pick
Yeah.
from them at our last night dinner.
I see this like turning into something like just getting bigger and better every year. I'm
I
just
hope
thinking
so.
about how there's now cruise ships that are, you know, coming up with pickleball courts or converting tennis courts into pickleball courts.
Mhm.
River cruise ships have
Yeah.
pickleball courts on them. And yeah, I just see it being something that can continue to evolve into bigger and better. Um, how many people from the on the trip signed up for next year?
So far 3.
That's amazing.
Is it?
That's
Okay, good.
Well, no, I mean it's amazing to come. You returned already with people going next year. Like that's amazing.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, why, of course, second guessing, hoping that more do, but we'll see. We'll see. And if money's not an issue, then they can wait. It's fine.
Yeah,
Money
right.
isn't always a selling
Yeah.
factor for people. And again, this isn't, over $10,000, so it's not a
Yeah.
super heavy price.
When it came to the itinerary itself, how
Mhm.
much work and planning did you do? I mean, was it your kind of mastermind of like the schedule of the day, or did you let Club Med plan that or your pro plan that?
Club Med did help. I planned. We also brought an exercise pro who does like boot camps, and she also
Okay.
plays pickleball and teaches yoga. So she could help us do a little bit more, creating a competitive advantage in the market, because there is a competition in this market. And from there, she did our warm-ups, we did our pickleball lessons, and then people continued to play until that through the afternoon, which was great. That was open for them. And then we had tournaments at 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did have tournaments at
Yeah.
5. I love that. Oh,
Yep.
that's
And
great.
our guys won, so that was pretty cool.
And how did everybody get along?
Well, this is the part that gives me the goosebumps, because I love nothing more than when my friends meet my friends and we make new
Yeah.
friends. That I love that. And I love community and bringing people together. And it was everything I ever hoped for. So
Wow.
that was really wonderful in that, these people we didn't know all came together. One lady, from Colorado, she's like, I think I'll move to New Hampshire, like it was just wonderful. And, we ate dinner together, mostly had lunches, and, just hung out and got to know each other. Even people I knew, I got to know better. And, there was some dancing. Club Med makes it really fun with their dances.
I
And
do.
I brought my tambourine, and that always helps. But
Oh boy.
it was just great.
Tambourine,
It was really fun. Everybody was,
huh?
out to have a good time. And,
Yeah.
there was no pressure for them to partake in things, but we were there if they wanted to come out and play. So, yeah.
With group travel, there's always that hesitation or fear that there's going to be that one person. But I think when you are building a trip around an affinity like pickleball, any true passion, I think you're much less likely to get that one person, because if people truly are passionate, and they're not going to not be passionate about something if they're going on a trip for it, right? So if people are truly passionate about whether it's pickleball, history, it's art, it's music, something. If they're all sharing in a passion together, and then deepening that passion by traveling somewhere together to participate in it, um, I think you're much less likely to have that, because I think we all have the potential within us, maybe, to be that one person if
Oh,
we're not
yeah.
having a good time.
Hmm.
And that's why I think you're much less likely to have it, is because, like, if it's built around that passion, they're going to have a good time, especially if you pick the right partner. So,
Yes. Yeah. And they were great. We had a welcome cocktail party the first night, and they let us use a conference room for strategy
yeah,
sessions, and
wow,
we put together a final dinner where you normally have to get up at, like, 7 in the morning to make a reservation. They put it on the books for us, so we didn't have to worry about that for the final
that's
night.
amazing.
So it was
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah, Club Med is a fantastic choice for something like this. Because, like you just said, they take a lot of the work out of it for you, and they make it really seamless and easy for you. So I highly recommend a trip like that, because Club Med has properties all over the world
Yeah.
with incredible facilities like pickleball courts and trapeze things, archery and kayaking and golf and
Yeah.
yes. So
And they're
any kind
expanding
of
too. They're
sport
expanding.
like that. Yep. Club Med is a fantastic partner, and you're not piecemealing things, right? So what did you have to piecemeal? Probably the transfers to and from.
Well, no, they had transfers.
They had transfers
I
already.
included
Okay.
that. I included
Okay,
that, so
great.
there was no thought or
Yeah.
concern. And I helped people with their flights if they needed. But that was really it. I mean, it was pretty, simple, I'd like to say. I mean, I certainly learned a lot.
Yeah.
But I was just really thrilled with how it all turned out. And the Club Med people were very responsive and really great to work with.
Yeah. I'm impressed that you had the foresight to um plan ahead next year's trip, and have
Oh,
you
yeah.
like you had it priced out, you had it ready to go, ready to announce on day 5 or whatever,
Yes.
last
Well,
day.
I mean, I might have been in my room that afternoon, um, making sure I had the pricing correct, and then, finishing all the fun awards that we gave out that night. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm very, very impressed with that. All right, so let's talk about pricing. How did you talk us through that process? Because you had a pickleball pro and a fitness pro,
yeah.
and you have to compensate them something.
Hmm. Yeah.
So talk us through that. Do you mind sharing a little bit of the behind the scenes on that?
Sure. I will share that there was some payment involved, and accommodations. Um,
Okay.
and as well as, lots of other pieces that, I had to include the
Yes.
marketing and
Right.
the swag that I brought to
Yep.
give away, and,
Yep.
the little pieces. So, I tried to include it all, but still keep the pricing in a reasonable window.
Right.
You
You don't
know,
want them to pay for something that if they were to do the trip on their own, it's half as much, because
right.
you have to build all this in. So that's another reason why you want to work with the right partner. Um,
Yes.
because some partners will give better pricing on, the bigger the group, the better the pricing, right?
Yes.
So,
Like,
um,
yes.
okay, so you did compensate both of the pros, and they got a free trip, basically. And
Yes.
that is something that we also recommend, but we actually recommend that when you find a Pied Piper. So I think like our most common example is that of a wine club. We have these, all over the United States, we have wineries, and a lot of these wineries are too small to distribute their wine.
Mhm.
And so the way that they actually sell their wine is through establishing a wine club. And so you can find a wine club that has a really solid loyalty. Like people go every single month to their wine club and they don't miss it and they develop these friendships. And so positioning a trip to a wine club like that, where either the wine club leader or even the winery owner travels with them is very it's successful. People are
Mhm.
doing that often, and it makes sense to obviously whoever's leading that group and serving as the Pied Piper of that group is going to have free accommodations, but they're working, and so you need to compensate them. It doesn't, they're not going to want the trip to even go if they don't get compensated, because you want them to be working, not vacationing.
Yes, yes, absolutely, and be available, and yes,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And make it even a better experience. Um, how enjoyable was it?
So the whole experience, I mean, because I left with such a happy feeling,
Yeah.
being so elated, of course, that was the most amazing part, was being with the people and seeing everybody connect and all that great stuff. The planning was tricky, the details, keeping everything straight. And one of the good things, you mentioned a Pied Piper, and I do want to say I was very lucky in that the exercise pro that I work with and another lady on the trip, they would tell everybody wherever they went. So I did kind of have Pied Pipers out there
I
because
love that.
I'll share with people, but I don't want people to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to her because I don't want to hear about the trip, like
Yeah.
MLM kind of thing. Uh, so a lot of times, I would keep a little more quiet because I didn't want to, confuse our friendship with that. Um,
Right. Right.
so
Yeah. And how much did you feel like you were working when you were actually on the trip?
Um, what was the work was the texts, you know, there's a leak in my
Oh,
room, and
right.
that sort of thing. And, I
Never being off. Like you felt like you could never be off.
once everybody was settled in, then it
Yeah.
was great. And also I had a local contact on WhatsApp, and she
Okay.
was right there, and that was
Oh,
great. She was
okay.
wonderful.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So it was the trip itself on a scale of 1 to 10, enjoyable was
Yeah.
a 10.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Um, so you've got next year's trip lined up. Do you have any interest, desire to branch out into other affinities?
Oh, I'd love to. I just have
Yeah,
to think about what makes sense and,
yeah,
where to
yeah.
go. Um,
Hmm.
but from this trip, I've had a few different people reach out to me about planning other trips. So I do have this
Okay.
one planned, but I have a
Yeah,
few others in the works.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about the group travel strategy, is that it gives you business and you're working smarter instead of harder, right? You're making more on one trip than you would make on individual, you know, two
Yes.
or four people traveling together. But it's also a marketing strategy,
Hmm.
because the people that travel on the group trip with you become individual clients, and then
Yes.
they tell other people about you too. So they're turning the prospects are individual trips or other groups that people want you to plan for them.
Other pickleball groups.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah. As I
That's
shared it,
amazing.
and another, there's a club that's about 40 minutes for me. and there's a group of them that are interested maybe in a different date. And
Oh, wow.
so, yeah, another pro reached out to me. So, and then another group up in Canada. So yeah, it's just, we're
Yeah.
seeing how it goes.
I love that. Love that. Love that. And what are some of the other affinities that you might want to dive into?
Oh,
Or are
I
you
would
still,
love to do like a wellness yoga sort
yeah.
of retreat, you know, women only sort of situation, but
Um,
maybe not. And even with this, I chose not to be women only. And I'm glad because it made it more fun and interesting to have both men
and
and
you said it
women.
wasn't, they weren't all pickleball players.
Right.
How many were not?
4.
And were they just your cheering crowd? Like, did they go and watch the tournaments or
No,
just,
well, one was a wife of a
yeah.
husband, and the other was a family who just wanted to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Um, so for someone who might be listening that was like so excited, would love to do something like this, but hasn't done it yet, what what are some of your pieces of advice? What would you say?
Really create the vision in your mind, see it,
Mhm.
believe it, know it can happen, it will happen if you want it to. And work out the numbers, lean on people who've done it before. And thank goodness we have great people to talk to and tap into. And then just do it. I mean, like the ready, fire,
Yeah.
aim.
Fire
Um,
aim.
has
Yeah.
always been my philosophy,
Yeah.
through my entrepreneurial career. And, it's worked out so far. So keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And start with, if you're not your own Pied Piper, some people are. Um, if you're not though, that I think that's the place to start, is just start researching and build a list of people that you can, systematically reach out to and say, hey, would you be interested in this? Do you have a following that we could tap into? Because, if you're going to be the Pied Piper, I'm going to need to lean on you to fill this trip. And if we don't fill it, it's not going to go. So
Hmm. Right.
and there are, like you said, there's all kinds of clubs out there that, and often the pickleball pro could be the Pied Piper, because there are certain pros out there that have, people are like, oh my gosh, if that pro's going, I'm going, because they're so much
Right.
fun, or I've learned so much from them. Or did you end up getting better at pickleball on this trip?
It was great because where we are located, there haven't been a lot of opportunities for actual drills and lessons.
Yeah.
Like in tennis, so we were always, drilling and drilling and drilling. And so anyway, it was really amazing to have that opportunity. And, there are definitely some nuggets I took away with me. Um, my backswing is too tennis-y.
Okay.
Especially at the net, and that was a problem in tennis too. So, it's like, oh
Okay.
yeah, I remember that. Okay, yeah. So I'm trying to keep that in mind while I play around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your business as a whole. Tell us about Good Life Travel.
Well, I like to say that I help people travel very well around the world.
I
And
love that.
my main niche focus is Europe, Hawaii, and the Caribbean.
Okay. And when did you start the business?
Um, January of 2020.
Oh, yes. You were a pandemic baby,
Yes.
or your
And
business
it's
is a
funny.
pandemic baby.
And we talk about the ready, fire, aim scenario, and that's normally what I do. And I said to myself, well, this gives me time to really learn and
Yeah.
take the time. And then, of
Yeah.
course, my kids were in high school at the time and spend time with them and all that. But yeah, so there was upsides to it as well.
Yeah. And how does this trip kind of play in the overall vision of your business?
It's just another stream, I hate to say stream of income, but another niche that I can
Yeah.
build on.
Yeah. Yep. Another way to grow your sales,
Yes.
and but have fun while you're doing it.
Yes, yes. And part of my plan for the new year, I want to do other groups. And of course, pickleball is wonderful, but the ones that I'm looking at are nonprofits. So there's some fundraising involved and also community building, so that they can become closer and spend more time with their people, be
Yeah.
it their board or their supporters. So
That's a
that's,
great idea.
yeah,
Really
so
great.
that's what I've been working on.
Tell us how people can get a hold of you. Maybe someone is listening and they actually have a pickleball group and they want you
Right?
to help them.
Or they just want to come on our fabulous one to Turks and
Or
Caicos.
that too. Yeah, exactly.
Um, well, my website is goodlifetravel.org. And on Instagram and Facebook, it's Good Life Travel Company,
Okay.
is where I am a lot of
Yeah.
times.
I saw your Facebook post when you got done with that trip and I was so inspired. I was like, that is awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was really great. And,
Yeah.
ready to go again.
That's, I mean, that's the whole reason why we put together the group travel symposium, is to have that kind of outcome, that kind of result for more and more
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Well, you should be very proud of yourself. I hope you are.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
The first one's always the hardest, because
Yeah.
now you have a framework. Now you've got something, you're still going to continue to learn and you're still going to continue to make mistakes, but um you're just going to get better and better at this, and there's more and more trips that are going to groups that are going to come to mind, and I'm very excited for you. So thank you so much for sharing all
Thank
about it
you.
and opening your kimono and letting people know about how you had your success.
Yes.
um and yeah, reach out to Debbie, anyone who's listening who wants to travel to uh Cancun next year. Cancun?
Nope, Turks and Caicos.
Oh, Turks. Sorry. Oh, that's even more fun. Look at
Yeah,
that.
adults only.
Oh, wow. Turks and Caicos next year.
And there is a
Okay.
trapeze.
There is a trapeze. All right, Debbie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we will see you all on the next episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening.